Pat, if I can have the testimony, please. Okay, for folks in the audience, just so we can run through this, we would like you in this section to address the environmental impact report. If you have particular points on the environmental impact report and you can tell us the page number you're talking about or the section, that's helpful. Mr. Jennings, you're first, and then Jane Wagner-Tuck from Restore the Delta. Mr. Jennings.
Good morning, Chair Eisenberg, Council members. Bill Jennings, representing the California Sport Fishing Protection Alliance, California Water Impact Network, Aqua Alliance. We had 4 sets of attorneys submit several hundred pages of comments, and I'm not going to refer to those.
Thank you, sir.
I will say that we felt that the response to comments was non-responsive, but during the 3 decades that I've been involved in state water issues, the State Water Board has conducted dozens of extended water rights and water quality proceedings. Numerous biological opinions have been issued, and we've endured myriad collaborative, adaptive management and restoration efforts. And yet, California is mired in a water crisis and a biological tapestry of the estuary is hemorrhaging. And the causes are obvious. I mean, we've overpromised, wasted, inequitably distributed limited water resources. We've deprived an estuary of more than half its flow, turned its hydrograph on its head, and used its waters as sewers. And this crisis evolved because state and federal agencies failed to enforce and comply with the broad suite of laws enacted to prevent it. And recognizing these failures, the legislature created and tasked this council to develop a comprehensive plan and performance criteria as a framework to guide agencies with statutory responsibilities on achieving the co-equal goals. And the plan was to be based upon the constitutional principle of reasonable use, the public trust doctrine, and be consistent with the water code, all of which are absent of discussion in the CIR. And unfortunately, the council has squandered a marvelous and unique opportunity. And because the council failed to identify and analyze the root causes of California's water crisis, overappropriation, unreasonable use, failure to balance the public trust, the plan and EIR are little more than a ratification of an unsustainable status quo. It largely recommends that agencies should continue to do the same things that created this crisis in the first place, as if they're going to experience a Damascus conversion. And there's no analysis of the likelihood of whether agencies are in fact going to follow your recommendations. We implored this council to undertake a series of critical analyses that the responsible agencies have refused to conduct, analyses fundamental to informed decision-making, including water availability, benefit cost, public trust, beneficial use or reasonable use assessments. And without them, both the plan and the EIR are predicated on an artificial reality, little more than omelets of half-truth and distortion to serve predetermined conclusions. We urge the council to disclose, analyze, and incorporate the findings of the legislatively mandated flow reports of the Water Board and Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Delta Protection Commission's Economic Sustainability Plan. You'll find little analysis of that. In fact, Fish and Wildlife study isn't even mentioned in the EIR. And DFG's 2010 flow report is not one of the documents that was relied upon. We provided the council with an itemized list of consumptive water rights and priority dates in the Central Valley. The state board wouldn't. We spent 2 years gathering it up, 153.7 million acre feet of consumptive rights for 30 million acre feet of unimpaired flow, 34 if you consider return flows and groundwater pumping. That demonstrates that the export projects have no legal right to the water they've been taking. I mean, the San Joaquin and Sacramento rivers were oversubscribed in 1901 and 1903, respectively. But that's not revealed in the EIR. We reminded the council that it was not exempt from public trust responsibilities, and we outlined how those responsibilities could be met. Consistency with the public trust is not whatever you decide to do or whatever you say that it's consistent. We pointed out that the greatest threats of water supply reliability were south of delta seismic events, waste, and extended drought, that local self-reliance was the greatest security. But you didn't, when in analyzing the threats to reliability, you didn't talk about San Luis Reservoir. You didn't talk about the overdue massive earthquake in the Tehachapi's. There were so many things. It was focused on 35 miles of delta. All were ignored in both the plan and the EIR because they jeopardized a status quo dominated by special interests. And so we're left with a plan and an environmental document that are divorced from reality and fail to comply with the statutory mandates of the Delta Reform Act and CEQA, and that will meet neither of the co-equal goals. Instead of vision, we're presented with a warmed-over Cal-Fed light. And this council has simply wasted everyone's time and resources and opened the door to the next generation of California water wars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings.